Hi, it's Jan Beta, and if you are following my channel, you saw me refurbishing my original Amiga 500 in the last video, which turned out pretty nicely and I'm really happy with it. There are some other pieces that I need to refurb to complete my Amiga 500 setup, my initial setup from back in the day, which is the plan for this Christmas. So here we are. By the way, apologies for my voice. I managed to catch a cold just in time for Christmas, so I probably sound a bit ill, which I am. So these pieces will have to be refurbed. This is the original RAM expansion by Commodore, the Commodore A501, which originally came with a battery and a battery buffered clock, which is labeled clock nicely, and it is 512K of extra RAM, which gives the Amiga 500 a full 1 megabyte of RAM. This was pretty standard. There's a lot of software that only runs with 1 megabyte. So I'm going to see if this still works, and if it doesn't, I am going to try to resurrect it. Unfortunately though, I bought a replacement, like a little PCB replacement for the battery, so I could use the clock, but I can't find it. So that's gonna be for another video, probably, if I don't find it in the course of making this video. This is an original Amiga A1010 disk drive, the original that I used back in the day. And this is great because this was obviously from the design, it was made for the Amiga 1000, or the Amiga as it was called when it came out. And it still says power are supplied from Amiga 1000 personal computer. So of course this works with other Amigas, but it was still labeled to be used with the Amiga 1000. As you can see, this is just as yellowed as the computer was, so this is primarily going to be a retrobriting job, I guess, and cleaning of the drive mechanism and the read-write heads. Hopefully. I don't know if this works at all, we're going to find out. And here's my original tank mouse from back in the day. And interestingly, there are very different versions of this, although they look the same from the outside. I think they were also manufactured by different companies. This is a variation that doesn't really click that loudly. Just says Amiga, so it's a pretty early version, I guess, because it was made in 1987 probably. Hope this still works. Needs some Retrobright and some cleaning. Not much else to say. If it doesn't work, we're going to try to fix it. The original power brick, which is one of the heavy linear transformer ones. Later models had a switching supply inside. This has like a linear supply. It has the old style on-off switch, which is pretty nice. And somebody, I guess my father, added some of these felt pads on the side here too, so it could stand like this and stand like this. This is the 220 volts, which was the common mains voltage in Germany back in the day. Now we're at 230 volts for more international compliance, I guess. The output, 5 volts, 2.5 amps, 12 volts, 1 amp, minus 12 volt at 0.1 amp. So yeah, this is the original power supply. 2.5 amps are plenty for a naked Amiga 500 and also for an extra disk drive and stuff like that. But if you want to add more peripherals, this is pretty low actually. So what I'm going to do with this is, as it's pretty yellowed, I'm of course going to take care of the case and try to retrobrite it back to its original color. I'm going to remove the felt pads here because I don't really need them. Plus the screws are under there. And I'm going to put inside one of these, which is a Meanwell industrial switching power supply, which is hopefully just fitting inside the case here. It has exactly the same size. We'll see about that. This is the model RT65B, which supplies all the right voltages. I got the idea actually from Miss Mad Lemon, who did a video about making her own power supply for her Amiga 1200, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to link her channel here. You have to check it out. If you like my channel, you are going to like her channel as well, I guess. So thanks Maddie for the idea. I guess it's not her idea. It is like, this model is like widely used across the Amiga community as a replacement for the original power supplies, and it's very well regarded. And as I like the Meanwell power supplies, I thought, why not give this a try? This supplies the right voltages and has a little bit more oomph, so maybe it's a good idea. This episode of Jan Beta is brought to you by... No, not really. Okay, let's start with the power supply. I'll have to remove the felt tips here, which are really... Oh, they are sticky. I have to get under these at least, because they are hiding the screws. Are there? Are there screws at all? Okay, there are no screws. There's no screws. Are there screws somewhere else? Is this glued shut? So I would have thought that there are screws. Okay. So this is clipped or welded shut. So I'm just going to pry it open, I guess. Whew! Didn't have to use this, at least. So this is an old school linear transformer kind of thing. And there are actually screws in here. These were welded to the top here, of course. And there are screws in here that you just couldn't reach because they put plastic in the holes here and welded it shut. That's kind of a nasty design choice. Okay, I just went berserk on this and just used a saw on these screws, and now I can just lift it out, I think. Yes, I can. I'm not gonna reuse this anyway, so that's okay. And here's the things that they put in there. You could have just gotten them out, I guess. Like a little cork that they pushed in there to hide the screws. So you could, of course, obviously drill from this side and open it a lot more elegantly than I did. But I didn't. So let's see if the new power supply would fit in there at all. So here's the new PSU, which comes in this little case, and it just fits, I guess. Let's see if we can close it up. Yep, it just fits inside, which is nice. So we just have to mount it there some way. And we have to, of course, run the wires to these terminals here. The voltages for the output are conveniently labeled, so I'm just going to take a photograph of this and rewire it. So the red one is +5, black one is 0, brown one +12, white one -12. The blue one is grounded. So with the help of some silicon grease, I managed to move this grommet. So I am just going to desolder these cables, which are the DC side secondary, and these, and the switch, and I'm going to wire it up to the new power supply. So I'm just going to connect this side first, and I'm going to cut all the wires and strip them again, so I have fresh copper to work with. And then crimp on some spade connectors to make a proper connection. This time, because I got criticized for connecting bare wires to these terminals, In the last video I did this, which was the Atari Mega ST one, so I'm just going to do it properly this time. I'm going to redo the Atari ST power supply too at some point. I am going to use these like fork connectors. I don't really know if they're called fork connectors, but that's what I call them, and crimp them so I can fit them right in here. I'm also going to add some heat shrink, I think, to this, so I can shrink it later to hide the shield here, which is probably on ground potential. So I apologize in advance because I'm pretty done with health-wise. If I do anything weird, I shouldn't really be playing with the mains voltage in this state. But hey, no risk, no fun, right? The blue one is like ground, so I am probably going to connect the ground from the mains there too. Yeah, I think I'm just going to connect this ground, the mains ground, to the case ground here, and the other one, yeah. So I'm just going to use a round one for that, I think. Proper ground connection. So there we are. This is our Amiga side connections, crimped with these little forks and one round connector for the ground, for the mains ground really. So now it's just a matter of, I soldered this on, by the way, because I left the connections on the switch as they are. So I'm just going to connect this to the live wire. This is the neutral terminal. Okay, so connected both grounds there. So the red one is the +5, black one is the common. Okay, looks legit. I think I want to put my heat shrink on here and do a little test run. Test fit in the case maybe first. So I am going to fit it in something like so. And as you can see, it just fits. So I think I'm just going to put this loosely in here for now. So I'm aware that I shouldn't do this. This is just held together with some electrical tape now, and this is pretty unsafe. This is not scientific at all. I am just, you shouldn't power these up without a load at all. Really. Yeah, I'm just going to try this and see if the voltages match the Amiga voltages. So we have a ground in the upper right corner there. It should be this. Okay, well, I'm just switching this on and see if it blows up or anything. Okay, it's whining, that's good. That should be 5 volts. Right. -12. Yep. +12. Yep. Okay. These should not be powered without a load. The whining that is coming from it is because it's trying to regulate without a load, and that's pretty stressful for these power supplies. So it's not recommended to do that. Yeah, I think I want to connect the Amiga and see if that works. It should work because the voltages are alright, and this is a very reliable modern power supply. Let's see! Okay, here's the Amiga. Meanwhile, I trust you on this one. Let's see. Yep, seems to work. Phew. Okay, so that seems to be the electrical part, at least, of the power supply done. let's see about the other bits and pieces. Let's see about the mouse. We're going to open this and see what's inside. We need to Retrobrite this anyway. Oh, this doesn't even have the micro switches. That's why it's not clicky at all. So this seems to be a pretty ancient model, and it says Bremen, which is a German city, and it says JB, which is me. Which might be I was in here and signed my work there. Maybe I repaired it at one point. Guess so, I can't really remember, but must have been. Yeah, that's definitely my mouse. Wow, that's cool. So that's my handwriting, I guess. Man, that's cool. I don't remember that at all, but it seems to be that I was in here and fixed it at some point. Maybe something dislocated in here or something. There we go. That's our PCB. And it seems to be Bremen, whatever, is the company that made these. Interesting. Never heard of it. And I'm going to clean these little rollers here with cotton swab and some alcohol. You can reach them from the outside, but it's much easier to clean them like this, I guess. I think on later models these were made of plastic. These are metal, which is a pretty nice touch. There's a bit of wear. That's not really dirt that you see now. Yeah, she's gonna be right, I guess. Now for the A1010 disk drive, which fortunately has some screws that I can see and reach. I can reach them? Yes, I can reach them. I think I'm just going to take this apart and clean it and Retrobrite the case. Wash it, clean it. So these, I just can lift it up, lift it apart. Oh, somebody has been in there. Of course, because my father was such a tinkerer. Okay, so somebody obviously did something here. I don't know why, because this just comes off. Okay, so this is what this originally looks like. There's like this metal cage. I repaired one of these a while back and held it in with tape, really. This is quite another construction here. Okay, I think my father added some rubber here, probably to prevent it from vibrating or something. I'm just gonna take this out and, well, I think the LED is glued in, so I'm just gonna leave that in there for retrobriting and cleaning, which usually doesn't do much. This is the old Amiga logo, the rainbow check mark, which is of course designed to be used with the Amiga 1000. So I think I want to remove the whole unit here, which is screwed down with several screws on the sides. I'm sorry if I'm a bit sluggish, but I'm in a bit of a fever because of the cold I have. So excuse any inconvenience caused by my health. So maybe... I see. Okay. So this whole cage thing, it's a pretty complicated construction, really. Okay. So I can remove the PCB. I can remove the drive now. Which I'm going to do. This is a Mitsumi drive. It's a whole another drive than the one that's internally in the Amiga. That's interesting. But it's going to be pretty similar. There we go. That's the empty case that I need to Retrobrite. So I really want to clean the drive, just like I did with the other one. This should be retrobrighted as well. So this is the other version that was used. I think these were also used as internal drives in the Amiga 500s in the early versions. And this has a more massive shielding. Oh, and there's a... okay, that's kind of a weird construction there. There are like little springs attached to this part of the case. But anyway, I'm going to clean this now. So, and there's our read-write head under here, or our read-write heads, and they are stuck together. I think we have to reattach the black thing on there to for them to separate. But there's a lot of fluff in there, so we have to clean that thoroughly and carefully. I'm going to do that now. I hope this still works after that. Look at that. Wow. There's a lot of dust in there. I want to remove the old lubricant from these rails which the read-write head travels on. And I want to re-grease them with some silicon fat, just like I did with the internal drive. And yeah, I'm just going to lubricate all the moving parts basically. This is how the disc closes, so I'm going to put some lubricant here and there, and yeah, pretty much that's going to be it. Let's see. Hopefully this still works after that. I don't even know if it worked before. Given the sorry state this was in, I don't really believe that it worked. Can't really have worked flawlessly. Re-grease the rails there with this silicon fat. Just adding a little bit. Okay, cleaning the head. I'm just going to put some alcohol on cotton swab, put it between there, let it sit, and then scrub it gently. Okay, this is moving pretty easily now. So these little wheels here on the side, I don't know if they are supposed to be turning, but there's some grease under there. So I think I just want to clean them. I think I should just pull them off. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to clean this and re-grease it. Okay, seems to still work, at least the mechanism seems to still work, which was what I was concerned with now. So I guess we are going to return to the technical side of things after retrobrighting the case pieces. Yeah, I'm going to reassemble it all as soon as I have the cases. So I'm in the kitchen and the parts I have to retrobrite and clean are so small that they fit in the kitchen sink, which is pretty convenient. And I'm just going to use some Silibang like before and soak them in some soapy water. To remove all the fat residue, the dirt, hopefully. Free retrobrighting. So I'm using some lighter fluid and a plectrum or guitar pick to remove these felt pads again, like I did with the Amiga. So I am going to use my hydrogen cream peroxide method that I used before, also in the video before, which you can watch if you click on the sidebar there. Yeah, I'm just going to brush some peroxide cream on there, then wrap the pieces in cling wrap and then put it all in my box that is lined with aluminum foil and let it sit there for a while, massage it around every half an hour, yeah, just like I did before. So there's nothing new to this, so we're just going to do it and stop talking. So the parts have been in there for like 7 hours, and I came in every half an hour and moved them and moved the cream around, but I think the last time I checked it wasn't really all finished yet, so let's see what it does now. If it isn't finished, I'm just gonna call it a wrap, because probably I'll have to use another method on it sometime, and I want to wrap up this video now, so let's see. Yeah, so they are much better than before. This has some serious yellowing still on the side. The other parts look pretty nice actually. I'm just gonna call it a wrap now because I don't have time to finish this video up otherwise. And I want to do it in time for Christmas, or at least one of the days of Christmas. So I'm just going to wash these and dry these, and then I'll be right back with the assembly. So here we are, and I must say there are some bits that are still a bit yellow. You can still see a slight gradient on this side here, and also on this side. The drive has some yellowing on the back here and on this side, but it looks way better than before. The mouse looks pretty good. I think I could revisit this at some point and do some more work on this. Turned out pretty pristine. I don't see any streaking, especially this faceplate looks as good as new, which is pretty nice, because that's the thing that's going to be most visible. The mouse looks pretty good, not too bad. So I'm pretty satisfied with this, given that I didn't take all the time I would have taken if I had all the time in the world. So this result is pretty good, I guess. So let's start reassembling it all. Yeah, looking pretty good. Hope this works. We'll see in a bit. As for the power supply, I have to work something out that works. But for now, I'm just gonna go with sticking it all in here and winding some tape around it, I guess. So I am definitely going to find a new case for this because it doesn't look pretty, and I am going to put some tape around it so it's safe for my use don't recommend this at all. The Meanwhile fits in there pretty nicely, but I have to work out something to fix it in there, really. Because it's just flapping around. I don't really know. You wouldn't be able to fit the screws back in anyway because the power supply unit is in the way. So this is what we're left with for now. It doesn't look pretty, but it'll do the job, and it is kind of my original from back in the day, so that's pretty cool. I'm also going to wipe down the cables with some window cleaner here. So there we go, clean enough for me. Let's put it all together. Okay, seems we're pretty much ready to go. Fingers crossed this all still works, or works again. Let's see. Okay, something's wrong with the external disk drive. The internal one does seem to work fine. I might just have put in the power connector the wrong way or something like that. Hope it's just something simple. Otherwise we have a backup plan of using the spare A1010. So I think I might just have gotten the power connector the wrong way around. Let's see if that helps. I'm just going to connect it back and see if that worked. No, it's completely dead. That's not good. So I couldn't fix the A1010, my A1010 in time, so I'm just going to use the spare one I have. Oh, and there's another thing to try, which is the memory expansion that we can insert. Should insert. Let's see if it still works. So the clock won't work, but otherwise it could work. So let's see. Okay, let's try to boot something that shows me the memory. So this shows me that the memory expansion doesn't work. Okay, but the drive does work. It shows an Xcopy, which is fine. So this found only 241,264 bytes of chip memory. So I hooked up another Amiga. This didn't get any refurbishment yet. And it shows the exact same, or very close to the same amount of chip memory in the advanced Amiga analyzer, so I'm pretty confident that this doesn't have a memory expansion in it at all. I think it's just the memory expansion that's broken. So yeah, there was some battery leakage going on, so that's probably why. So my Amiga seems to still work. Just the memory expansion has some issues, probably. So I just used another memory expansion I had laying around, and as you can see, this has like 1 megabyte minus the workbench RAM. So that's pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this anyway. There's going to be more fixing of the A1010 disk drive and the RAM expansion sometime soon, I guess. For now I'm pretty happy how this turned out. My personal Amiga still works and I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, I'm pretty much done with I have a bad cold and probably have a fever and I should really go to bed. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the other videos in this series. Check out my other videos in general if you enjoyed this. See you all soon. Merry Christmas and stay tuned for more. I'm Ben Beta. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.